Arun Singh, former Indian ambassador to the US, you know the history of the relationship. It has often been said that there are these grand gestures and India and America are natural allies and we're going to work together and there's a lot that we're going to do together to change the world, but nothing actually gets done. I think as Michael was saying and Dhruva was saying as well, this time a fair amount was actually delivered on the ground in terms of technology, in terms of how we're going to cooperate in defense, how we're going to cooperate in space, and of course those actual deals, the co-production of defense items like engines, the fact that that involves technology transfer. So was there something to actually catch on to and bite in concrete terms this time around?
No, absolutely, Vikram. And I think a lot has been delivered in concrete terms. And that's because of the work that has gone on in the background. You'd recall that in January this year, the two national security advisors launched the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies, where spoke of artificial intelligence, quantum, cyber, 6G, biotech, semiconductors, defense. And the message was that from the national security perspective, they believe that the two countries should partner in these technologies. And that was the message to different government departments, message to business, message to the academia in both countries. And so today, for example, if the GE deal has gone through, it is because of this new initiative in critical and emerging technologies, because that's created a certain ecosystem for approvals. Because again, from the reports that have been coming out, there was resistance within the US system for allowing this kind of technology transfer. And from what I hear, basically the National Security Council, the White House, the President sent the message that they want this to be done because they want to take the partnership with India to higher levels. Now, once that has started, then the whole host of other things come in. For example, this announcement that the US Department of Defense Space Force has agreed to do a collaboration with two Indian startups. Now, that's again something very, very new. So a lot has started.
Right. Dhruva Jaishankar, I know you have to leave us in 3 or 4 minutes. I'm just going to get in a couple of questions to you before continuing with the others. One of the basic things that I think has often been debated ad nauseum when it comes to India-American relations, and there's been a lot of chat about it in the last few days and weeks as well. What's the nature of the partnership? Well, we're clearly not traditional allies. Is that good or is that bad? That conversation is taking place in America. Some people will say it's good that India is not actually an ally. It means we don't have to look after them. We can actually get India to pull its weight and to be partners but not allies, shared interests or shared values. That debate has been taking place for a while. Has it finally been settled one way or the other, or no?
No, I'm afraid it hasn't, because I think that debate takes place in a vacuum. It takes place amongst academics and think tank people and people in the media who frankly should know better. The reality, I think, is the governments are quite clear on this score, which is the US is not offering India an alliance and India is not seeking an alliance with the United States. And they're both quite clear about that. I think that in some ways it's a very pedantic type of argument. Ultimately, this is a partnership that is getting deeper. It is a partnership that is mutually beneficial. I mean, arguably, and I think they said this is a partnership that is vital for both countries. If the US wants to compete in a more in a world where power is more diffused, where they have a major peer competitor in the form of China, there is no way that they can keep their scientific and technological and economic edge without a positive, constructive partnership with India. And equally, if India is to rise as in a multipolar world, there is almost no way that it can do so without a constructive partnership with the United States, and that whether it's with market access or investment or technological cooperation or security. Now, this is the reality that has sunk in both systems, and I think they have been working very constructively to forge that kind of mutually beneficial partnership. But I do, I think that will continue, and I think all the signs are that that's in a positive direction. But again, I think we're going to be in another cycle, a slightly useless cycle of discussions and nitpicking by members of the media and, frankly, fellow members of the think tank community in both countries who will be going on this debate that is increasingly irrelevant.
Right. And on that note, there's also been a lot of chatter. It's all to do with China. Is it all to do with China, or at the end of the day, the next 30, 40 years, China or no China? This is a relationship that has to be sorted out, that has to work. And there's more indicating that interests and values are likely to be aligned than the opposite, and therefore this is a natural partnership to that point. China or no China?
I mean, look, in some ways, there's no getting around the fact that China's rise has been the major transformative geopolitical and geoeconomic event of our times. It is a reality. It is now 20 to 25% of the global economy. It is a manufacturing powerhouse. And the fact that both India and the United States are engaged in a deep strategic, long-term strategic competition with China, barring major changes in the Chinese Communist Party's world outlook, means that there will be a natural response by that on the part of both India and the United States. And in many areas, not all, in many areas that would mean naturally more conducive conditions for a partnership between India and the US. But so there's no question that China is a driver. I mean, if China was not doing certain things, clearly there would not be the impetus on both sides to construct a deeper partnership. That being said, there's also plenty, given the breadth of the India-US relationship, there are plenty of areas where China is not as much of a factor. There is a strong people-to-people exchange. People are not, Indian Americans are not coming here and thriving in the US because of China. It is happening because of a strong link between India and the US. So I think, again, the answer is a bit of both. You can't get around the fact that China is increasingly a driver of the relationship, but I don't think that alone should be defining the positive and constructive agenda that the two countries are putting together.
All right, Dhruv Jaishankar, Executive Director, ORF America, thank you so much for joining us with that perspective. Indrani, let me get you in on this. It's sort of atmospherics. You've been there, you've been for many of these. Is that as good as you got? And the deal making, was that as good as it gets?
The deal making certainly is better than it gets. I think some of the, if you look at some of the deals that have been signed, they're quite extraordinary, especially in the technology, in the innovation space, even in the clean energy space. And you look at Indian companies investing in the US as part of the IRA, which is Biden's biggest sort of legislative deal that he did last year. And all this time, India and a number of European countries have said the IRA is an extremely protectionist move. But Indian companies are investing under the IRA in the US, and that is a big statement. So that's an important, I think that's an important part. Certainly
Right.
in